Afternoon, folks. Hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Tuesday. Let's get on with talking about some 10th edition, shall we? Before I do that, though, if you like what I do, subscribe to the channel. The box is down below, the button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below. And if you like what I do, make sure you head over to Composite Games and give them some love using the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off at checkout. Please do that, because they're keeping busy, and when they're tired, it amuses me. So, keeps my morale up, put it that way. So, I thought, coming into this today, I would have a lot less to say, but it turns out when I was writing the script, I just sort of went for it and winged it, and here we are. 10th edition is out of the bag, and if we are honest, we are probably going to see a turning down of the total reveals coming our way before the game actually releases this summer. Whilst we are seeing things like Astra Militarum and other armies getting their own previews on the Warhammer community page, I thought it would be good to put an umbrella video out there to pull together all of my thoughts of what we've seen so far, because Games Workshop are now going faction by faction, showing us different things and going more in depth into how they're going to work in the new edition. Whereas how the new edition plays, I think those reveals are pretty much over now. With Warhammer Fest and all that, I think that's done. So I thought this video would be good to do, to put all of our thoughts that we've had so far into one video, nice and supplanted there, so you can watch it and, I don't know, it's just nice to put a bookend on things. I would like to get one thing out of the way before I start, though. Is it fair to critique a game that not many of us have actually played? Absolutely not. I agree. Absolutely not. For those of you who said that, no, it's not fair. I agree. Right? However, is it fair to critique a preview of a game based on what Games Workshop have already shown us? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's totally fair. If you show me something and you ask for my opinion, I'm allowed to give my opinion. Okay? I think a lot of people tend to either willfully remain ignorant of this fact or don't have the mental maturity to notice that we are not critiquing the game as it's going to, as it is, because we don't have it as it is in front of us. We are critiquing what Games Workshop have shown us. Let's be honest too. Why would Games Workshop show you anything but what they think are the best bits of the new edition in the previews? This is not a video game with a plot to be spoiled. You need to know what's in the box to go out and actually buy it when it drops, right? So, that's why we do these critiquing videos on what Games Workshop have shown us. That's why. I get a lot of people all the time saying, well, why don't you just wait and see? Well, I can't. Number one, it's kind of my job not to wait and to tell you things and to talk about these things. And number two, they're releasing this information so we can do this. So we can go over it, so we can know exactly what we're going to do when the new edition drops. And they're very proud of it, and so they should be, They've worked hard on it. So let's critique it. Let's do them the respect of critiquing their work and saying, what's it all about? What's going to happen? So we're going to be remaining on this page for most of the video, unfortunately, but I will be clicking in every now and again to show you different things that I think are quite prudent going forwards. So, with that in mind, here are 6 things. A few of them positives, and a few of them are negatives. Yes, I do have positive things to say about Games Workshop in this video. If that's not for you, then feel free to leave, because they do some good things that I want to call them out for, because you get the carrot and you get the stick, both. All right, so I am suffering from a cold right now, by the way. I don't know what it is. I don't know where I got this from. It's the middle of May. Come on. And you know what? I've lost a bit of weight. I'm trimming down. I'm doing weights. I'm looking good, and I'm getting fitter. My immune system is not responding to that though. It seems to be determined to pick up colds from just stepping outside, and it's nearly summer. Come on, give me a break, body. Anyway, number 1. This is a negative, right? So with that in mind, here are my takeaways from what we have seen of 10th edition so far. Number 1. Simplified, not simple, which is the tagline of the current Warhammer 40,000 preview. It doesn't actually really work all ring true. I applaud the effort here, but let's be honest. Does this game look simpler to you? Like, whenever we've gone into these things and how it's actually going to play, the unit profiles and how you're going to put together your army. Like, the unit profiles, fine, we'll go into that a bit later on. But how to put together your armies around here somewhere. And it is... Yeah, here's how to plan your army. Here we go. Does this look simpler to you? Or does it look like it's exactly the same as the last edition, but with a few things changed around? That's what it is. On further reading, that's what it is. Okay? Moving the stat lines from strength and other things to weapon profiles results in exactly the same amount of slowdown and brain power being used. You're just looking for it in a different place, right? Let's say, you know, back in the day, right now, if I wanted to see what a Force Halberd does, I go into my codex, I look for the Force Halberd in the Special War Gear chart, and I know what it does. Fine, that's what it does. Now, I need to get my codex, go to my where my unit is, and I can see it there, underneath the unit card. It says right there, what it does, right? You're still only looking in one place for the one weapon, right? You're not... This is what I mean. Just because you put something somewhere else doesn't mean it's simpler. You've just changed how to do it. They've not made it any more complicated, I'll say that. But it's still just the same amount of complexity. It's not more simple, right? I find that a lot of Games Workshop's 10th edition rules changes do this. Instead of actually simplifying the way the game works, they just switch around how you do it, and they tell you it's more simple. But anybody who has ever played a game of Warhammer will tell you it's not. That's the first thing. I mean, I applaud the effort, and I applaud the message that we want a quicker game of Warhammer 40k. But everything that I've read so far, of weapon profiles, on how to build your army, see the weapon profiles here, the Intercessor Squad and things, but you can go on the weapon profiles, where are they? Be around here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, so the weapon profiles don't really look any different. They've just switched around one thing. Here we go, weapon lethality. They switched around one thing for another, essentially. So this is all on the bolt rifle range now. So you have your attacks there, your ballistic skill needed to operate the weapon, your strength, the AP, the damage, all that stuff used to be on the same character sheet underneath the character. On what weapons they could take, and what they could do, right? The ballistic skill was part of the character profile, the strength was part of the character profile, and the attacks was part of the character profile. All they've done is they've meshed it into the weapons and put them somewhere else. That's not simpler. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're paying lip service to making things simpler when they're not. And I needed to pick that out. I'm sorry, it just is what it is. Here's the big one, though. Here's the big one. And it's all over here. When I was talking the other week about, you know, what's going to happen to your codexes in the new edition. Are we going to get new codexes? Are we going to... Yeah, we are getting new codexes. We are getting new codexes. We've been told already. We're getting new codexes, right? We have been told already that that's what's happening. But, here's the thing. I don't blame Games Workshop for sticking to that model if it makes them money. I don't. Right? I'll get into that later on. I'd rather it was a different way. I would rather there were no codexes at all. I would rather like most of them were free and online and ready to go. But that's not... I don't live in an ideal world. That's fine. But codex smoke and mirrors. I don't like this. Games Workshop tells you they don't want you looking around a load of books, and so every faction or army will have at most a few sheets of paper with their unit loadouts and abilities on it. That's it. We were told that in the very first preview of Warhammer 40,000. That's great. Okay, cool. Hooray, the fanboys cry, right? No more codexes. Then, they proceed to tell you codexes are coming out for all of these armies. For every army in Warhammer 40,000. Everybody's getting a codex. So, Games Workshop, you tell me I have less books to go through, right? Well, at the moment, I have 3. I have the rule book, my codex, and specialist rules I get from elsewhere, like supplements and FAQs, right? Three places for me to go for my rules. From what you've been saying in this brand new streamlined 40k edition, that's simpler, remember, I will also have 3 books to go through. The rule books, my codex, and rule updates you will release periodically to balance the game. What's different? What's simpler? It's the same thing. It's the same thing as last time, worded differently. Just because 2 of those 3 are free to buy, by the way, does not mean the process of looking through them is any simpler. The confusion when it comes to codexes is something I am fairly sure Games Workshop knows is in effect. They know what they're doing here, right? They know what they're doing. I actually had people tell me, they told me on a few on the Discord, loads of them in YouTube comments. I had people telling me, foaming at the mouth in their defense of this corporation, no less, that codexes are all free and going to be phased out. Well, that's proved to be untrue. When that was proved to be untrue, that Games Workshop said that codexes are coming back and they won't be free, but they offer a more broad set of tools rather than game-breaking rules. Again, the fanboys were celebrating and shouting. They really cannot see the writing on the wall here. Any army with a codex will have a marked advantage over one that does not have a codex yet. That is simply how it is. You want to be on top of the meta, or be competitive at all against your friends? Buy the codex of £40. Cheers. This will never change, and to be honest, that's fine. If this is the model Games Workshop are sticking to, but please don't cover up with smoke and mirrors. Please don't do that. It's dishonest, it's scummy, and it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, right? They are quite literally on purpose they're doing this. On purpose they're making sure that they are confusing you with different bits of information when it comes to codexes. When it comes to these things, okay? It really does irritate me. It really does irritate me that and people go for it, hook, line and sinker. They just go for it. They say, oh, well, they've said all we're going to get is a breadth of options in our codexes and that they won't be game breaking. I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. If I play Imperial Guard, right? Okay, and so do you. We both play Imperial Guard. But I see the new codex and I can't afford it. Let's just say I can't afford it. Let's say, you know, I'm paying for stuff for my kid, or, you know, I'm paying for their school, tuition, whatever. I can't afford it. Not this month anyway. But you can afford it, and you've gone and bought the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard Codex. I'm still using my index cards that I got on release for free. You're using the codex that you paid £40 for, with a more breadth of rules in it, quote unquote, as Games Workshop put it. Who do you think has a better advantage and chance of winning the game? Correct. Because every single one of you who is mentally there says, yes, the person with the codex will likely win this game because they have more options for them to go forwards and win the game, right? You'd be correct. You'd be correct. Can you play the game with your index cards? Of course you can. Just like in 8th edition, you could technically play the game just using the index. You could do that if you wanted to. You'd lose nearly every game, but you could do. There's nothing stopping you. Like, technically, what Games Workshop are saying is true. That doesn't mean it's not scummy, because it is. Alright. Third thing. The options for army building are not quite what they seem. This is one of the last negatives that I have. And it's a big one. The options for army building aren't quite what they seem. Games Workshop say, hey guys, we want to give the players more options, so now you can choose whatever you want to play with and put it in your army. Thumbs up. Oh, wait, as long as it conforms to this strict force organisation chart, that is not actually a force organisation chart. You remember those things, right? And you remember Games Workshop in this very article talking about how they didn't like force organisation chart and how they shouldn't be in the game. Well, I'm sorry, they are in the game, because if you look down here, this is a force organisation chart. This is a force organisation chart. It's the same thing, just worded differently, right? You still have to conform. You still have to conform to a very specific set of rules, or your army in the game is not technically legal, right? You need at least one character, a maximum of one of each epic hero, like a Primarch. Up to 3, you can only have up to 3 of the same data sheet. So, if you like intercessors, go fuck yourself. You're only allowed, you're only allowed 3. We can have up to 6 of the same battle line or dedicated transport, even if they are the same thing. So, that throws the intercessors things out. But let's say, hey, I'm a Grey Knight, right? I love Purifiers. And Purifiers are no tougher than normal Grey Knights. They just have like an extra psychic power thing that they can do, right? To burn away the enemy in 10th edition. Let's say that, right? I can only have 3 units of them. I can't have any more than that. Because they're not a troop. Right? Let's say I love fast attack vehicles. Let's say that. If I want, like, say, 4 units of assault marines, that's not very powerful, right? 4 units of assault marines isn't that powerful. It's still illegal. It's illegal. I can't do it. Right? I loathe this kind of thing. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining, okay? Don't say you're taking away force organization charts and then make it, weirdly, more restrictive than it was before. That's what this is. Right? It's what it is. I'll tell you what it is. Right? You don't have more options, guys. You don't. If anything, you have less options. But what you do have is clarity. This is very clear what's expected on the tabletop. And I like that. I like the clarity. I like the way that we're seeing these things develop as we're going on. This is great. But don't tell me I've got more options when I've got less. Don't. Don't lie to me. Pisses me off. Okay? It's great that there's clarity. I love it. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. But please, 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 as I just said, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Please. Alright? Okay. If they just came out and said, we want to be more structured in the way that we do armies, no problem. Everybody would have gone, yeah, okay, I see that. That's cool. That's cool. But at least I can fit a cool army into these parameters. That's cool. I can do that. But they don't, do they? They try to please everybody by fucking lying again. Stop telling me this is more simple. It's not. Stop telling me it's less restrictive. It's not. It's the opposite. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Just if you're going to die on that hill, put your banner in it and stand there and be man enough to stand there and say, this is where we are with 10th edition. Stop trying to please everybody and lying about things. Please. Okay? I know that was harsh, but I'm just getting sick of it now, to be honest with you. And this is with 10th, that's me, by the way. This is 10th edition in a nutshell so far. By the way, I know it seems like I don't like it. I've never been this excited for a 40k release before. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great addition. And take all of this away from... please, take all of this away from the game itself. The game itself is going to be great. I'm going to really enjoy the game. Just stop lying to me. That's all I ask, right? I'm going to enjoy the game. Just stop it. Right? Stop with the smoke and mirrors, please. Right? Alright. Here is a positive, though. Our first one of a little talk here. A nice positive, I think. Well, at least I think it is, anyway. 40k is moving forwards in terms of models. Slowly but surely, the model ranges of ancient armies are being updated. Right? Very, very, very old armies are being updated, even though it is quite, it's quite slow in the way that we're doing things. Okay? The model ranges for these armies are being updated quite slowly. But they are being updated. That's the black and white. That's the black and white. The Tyranids are the latest to get that much needed facelift, and it's really good to see other armies other than Space Marines getting some love for a change. The problem of Space Marine centric releases is still a thing, but they're the poster boys, it's to be expected. At least we are seeing a move in the right direction when it comes to the more antiquated model lines. Now, fully aware, this is more, max territory over Outer Circle, but I feel the quality of the Xenos armies, they are slowly climbing to the fidelity of the Space Marines. Very, 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 very slowly. Okay? We're getting there. But let's be honest, every army in 40k should at least look like a feast on the tabletop, even if it doesn't play that way. The Leviathan box set shows that the direction we are trending in, by and large, is a positive one. I really hope Games Workshop keeps this up, and does not relegate Xenos upgrades as being the other half of the core box set every 5 years, because that would really suck, right? That's kind of what we've seen so far, unfortunately. Right, the Necrons got their big update in 9th edition in the box set, right? The Death Guard got it in 8th edition. The Necrons got it in 9th edition, but then they got nothing else, right? They got Necrons top of 9th edition. They're in the box set and nothing else. I'm fairly certain what we're seeing from the Tyranids now, that's all we're going to get for Tyranids moving forwards. You know? Which is a shame. But what I mean is, I hope the other factions, people like, Necrons have had some love, Tyranids are looking better, but now is a time for people like Orcs, Dark Eldar, Tau, and others to get 1 or 2 complete resculpts. I'm talking about normal troop choices like Boys, Kabalite Warriors, and Fire Warriors. All should have larger, more detailed, and intricate model sculpts that resemble something made in 2023. Start with the things we are going to see most on the tabletop if you want to update an army's range. The troops. Carry on in this fashion, and the future of 10th is very, very, very bright. Can I see them doing that? No. But it's a tight no. It's a tight no, right? I'm 60%. I'm 51% going that they're not going to do it. 49% that they will do it, right? It's a tight no, because it makes complete business sense for them to do it. Fire Warriors should have an update. The Dark Eldar should have an update, and the Orcs range completely should have an update. If you're bringing out new things for Age of Sigmar every single month, you should be upgrading some of these Xenos kits to be more in line with what we expect in 2023. You can't have Primaris level vehicles going up against war buggies and things like that. The Orcs deserve more shit, dude. Every Xenos player deserves more stuff, because at the end of the day, do we really want to be sitting here and fighting 25 armies of Space Marines every single time we go to a tournament? Yeah? The beating heart of the hobby is the Xenos players and the Chaos players. Those are the beating heart of the hobby. Because those are the people that there are punching bags. Right? I know it sounds horrible, but they are. They're the people we like to fight. Because they're different. Every army's different. Every army has new tactics to explore and to come up against and to react to, right? They're the beating heart. Please, 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 please continue in the trajectory that you're going in. Give us more cool Xenos armies to go and collect. Please. Right. That's another positive. I've got yet another positive here. Characters are something I am very, very excited for in 10th edition. Oh my days. I am very, very excited for people like this guy. I am very excited for the characters in 10th edition. It really seems like somebody on the studio team loves the narratives 40k can provide on the tabletop, and has installed rules in 10th edition to help such things along. Yeah, I catch a lot of flack for some of my home rules. One of my home rules is that only a HQ can damage another HQ unit. I know that sounds silly, and that sounds like it wouldn't work, but to be honest with you, some of the most epic things I've ever seen on the tabletop have been due to that rule, because we're charging our commanders towards each other with their retinues, and they have a big slap bang mash up in the centre of the field, or we have a lieutenant bringing down a hive tyrant, or we have a character can kill another character. Now they're the only people who can kill characters in the game, unless they're in close combat. I think we did one where we said, yeah, if you get into close combat with him, fair enough, but you can't shoot at him. They've got to be, the only people who can shoot at him are other characters. I love it. It's so narrative the way that you can go on that way of thinking. And it seems to me that the writers of 10th edition have taken rules like that, home rules like that, and have taken them to heart and installed them into the game. They could have easily said that people like Primarchs could be in squads too. That's one of the big changes, that your characters can join squads. They could have easily have said that characters like Primarchs, can join squads too. just so they can sell the big boys more often. But they refrained from that and kept it to the lieutenants and other HQ choices. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant stuff. Very clever rule writing. Back in the day, it was very tempting to create your own, say, Brotherhood Champion, or Chapter Master, or Lieutenant, right? Equip him with special war gear, and even come up with a name and backstory for him if you wanted to. But, you know, the problem was, what was the point? What was the point? In 7th edition, 8th edition, what was the point of doing that? He'd never get into combat anyway, as he'd be shot off the board, and so you'd have to keep him in the rear lines, where he can buff those around him. Usually, he's buffing stationary, long-range units. Boring. Not anymore, though. The Astral Blades, for instance, are now hard-baked, it seems, into 10th edition with this change, which is probably why I like it so much. Each squad of 9 close combat intercessors, led by a dual sword wielding lieutenant. Count me in. Count me in, dude. That's thematic as shit, and I love it. Finally, those awesome sculpts that most armies have of secondary characters are going to see some serious tabletop time, and that's brilliant. The more Games Workshop lead into the narrative side of 40k, the better the game is for everybody, and I mean that sincerely. I completely believe that, right? Alright. Number 6. And it is a negative to round things off. Because we've had three positives now. We've had, I think 3 positives anyway. And now we're going to be doing another negative, which is, you know, kind of rubbish, but you know what I mean. Here we go. Let me put this bad boy on the screen. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. Armour in the game may be outclassing ranged weapons. Yeah, I know, we've only seen a few weapons with 10th edition, but even things like melt weapons, for me, will have a hard time chewing through the mighty toughness and wounds buffs that vehicles have received. I know we've seen a Baneblade weapon as well, that's amazing at long range, but that's a fucking Baneblade, dude, come off it, you know? Should vehicles explode like wet tissue paper? Of course not. But if you engineer a unit to take them down specifically, they should reliably do so in 1 round of shooting if they roll well, or 2 rounds of shooting if they don't roll well. At the moment, I can see this being an issue for all but the most heavy-hitting units when it comes to shooting. A Melter right now stands a decent chance of killing a Land Raider if it's deep struck right next to it. But it's still just a decent chance. That's all you get, is a decent chance of killing a Land Raider. For the cost of an entire squad of Melter veterans and a drop pod. All the while, the Land Raider and all vehicles now do not suffer degrading brackets as they take damage, because in previous editions, right, they would balance that out by having the Land Raider, for instance. If you get it down to 4 wounds, it wouldn't be able to trundle away from the fire quick enough to survive the second salvo as it's coming in, right? So, nowadays, the Land Raider could simply survive that turn of shooting with 4 to 5 wounds left and steamroll away from the Melter squad in the next turn, far out of range of them, to grab an objective that could win that Space Marine player with the Land Raider the game. I hesitate to call this before playing it, I really do. But it reads like shooting armies against armour are going to struggle, at least for a while, in the early portions of 10th edition. And those are Imperium weapons, by the way, very powerful shooting weapons. You shuriken-wielding Eldar people may as well just pack up your models if you see a load of mechanised infantry on the other side of the table. But those are my positives and negatives of 10th edition so far. And those are my opinions. Those are things that are important to me. If you think that I've missed anything, then please, you know, put it in the comment section down below, because in all honesty, these are things, as I just said, that matter to me. They might not be things that matter to you. So if you have things that you've read that are quite confusing for you, or that you don't quite like, throw them in the comment section down below. There may be something that I've missed that actually I want to go back on and do a video on later on. I've lost count of the amount of video ideas that I've had from my own comment section of people saying, hey man, you missed this. And I go, oh shit, I missed that. Let me go do another video on that, right? So you never know. I could pick something out. Put it in the comment section down below. I love you a long time. I'll be back tomorrow with some more Hobby Nightmares. I'll be back on Thursday with my favourite Space Marine chapters, and that may be quite a controversial list going forwards. And on Friday, I'm undecided, but I may be doing a special Hobby Nightmare that a friend of mine sent in. So, love you a long time. I will see you later. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, be safe. See you later. Have a good one. Bye.